Welcome to today's health and well-being workshop. And what are we going to talk about? Today, you are going to learn how you can simplify your life, eliminate stress, and build meaningful relationships. So, what we will be talking about, cause and effect of three main stressors. And then we will dive deeper into the psychological stress. We will explore the difference between quantum physics and Newtonian physics and energy emotion, which is emotion. I will give you some examples of the law of polarity and how we can apply it in today's world. And in the end, I will share three secrets to relationship that I try to implement myself as much as possible. For those ones that don't know me yet, I'm Blanca Campbell, the functional medicine nutritionist. And in functional medicine, it's like a marriage of science and spirituality. And in this matrix, you can see that at the core of the matrix, there is a mental, emotional, and spiritual health that has impact on other parts of the physiology, like the defense and repair of the immune system, or the energy creation in mitochondria, or the biotransformation and elimination of waste products through the liver, gut, and kidneys, and assimilation, which basically means digestion of the food when we are in a parasympathetic, which means digestive system. And also about the communication. Communication is the key, not only in between people, but also with the cells. And so what can we do is looking at the modifiable lifestyle factors like sleep and relaxation, exercise and movement, nutrition, stress, and relationship. And that's why stress and relationship you'll be in almost every workshop that you will hear from me. So what do we know about stress? What is causing stress and what is the effect? So in functional medicine, we distinguish between these three main stresses: chemical, mechanical, and physiological, psychological. So let's start with the psychological, and that is perceived stress. And we will dive into that. The impact that the perceived stress, what you see as a stressor, has on your chemical hormones, because you will learn today that the brain, the mind, is sending the signals to the body what to do. So whatever pictures you make in your head has impact on your physiology. But let's also talk about the mechanical stress. In other terms, trauma. So trauma is when you, for example, have a car accident and you break your ribs and you damage your legs and you are lying in the hospital, and then you have all the bruises and the muscles and bones are damaged. So this is a mechanical damage. However, it will also have impact on a chemical damage, because there will be many toxins and white blood cells and stress hormones that will be created. And it can also have impact on your psychological health, because you are bound to the bed in the hospital. You cannot work, you cannot be with your family. You don't know how long it will take you to recover and do the sports and things that you love in your life. So you can see that it's not one separating from the other, but it's always working in synchrony together. And so what is this ease? You can see there this word ease. It's going without ease. So as we mentioned, it can be the mechanical trauma. It can be also wear and tear, degeneration. Yes, we are aging. And even though there are some anti-aging strategies and longevity, it is not completely possible to stop the wear and tear. The same goes for athletes. If they abuse or overuse their body, it's going to degenerate. Increased pressure. And increased pressure, this you can imagine as a psychological stress on us. There is increased pressure on what we should and could do. But it can be also, for example, pressure in the eye that can damage the nerve, which very often happens, for example, in diabetes. Or rigid elastin. So rigid elastin, what is it, for example, in lipodema, which looks like cellulite, but it's actually that there is elastin building around the fat cells and making it impossible to move. And this can be even very painful. Or stiffness of the joint, Is it from the inflammation? Is it from the muscle wastage? So there are so many things. And with the body, and what we try to do in functional medicine is to find the root cause. So if you look at this picture, you can see that in the watch, there is this system and it needs signal. So one signal comes, starts to turn one of these circles, and then the other one are moving as well. But what happens is in this synchrony or in this domino effect, one gets broken or the signal doesn't come. That is the disease. And here is one example that I see actually in my clinical practice very often. So on the picture, you can see the yellow balls. It's actually not balls, so yellow object that is glucose, sugar. And you might be saying, but I don't eat any sugar. Well, sugar is everywhere. Glucose is in bread, pasta, rice, vegetable, especially the root vegetable. It's just absolutely everywhere. And we need glucose because it's a primary source for our brain. So our body loves glucose. But what very often happens is that maybe we are eating too much glucose, and then the body, the pancreas, needs to release quite a lot of insulin. And the cells say, no, I don't want to work anymore. And this is called insulin resistance. So the cells say, no more. And as you can see on the picture, this is mitochondria. Mitochondria is an energy powerhouse. So what happens is that insulin is like a lock and a key system. So insulin is a key that needs to open this GLUT4, this receptor, so that the glucose can come inside. But if the cells are blocked or if there is not enough insulin, the glucose cannot come into the mitochondria and create the energy. Yeah? So this is one of the obstacles and example of chemical imbalance. It's a hormonal imbalance. But what can also happen is that some toxins, they will mimic, for example, glucose, or they will mimic the hormones, and there will be too much glucose coming into the cells. And then it's turned, for example, into fat. There are many, many variations of what can happen in the cell. Very often people blame genes. But let me tell you that only 5% of the congenital disease is because of the faulty genes. So if you were born, for example, with diabetes type 1, which is autoimmune disease, then there is not much you can do about it. However, if you have diabetes type 2, which comes with the lifestyle that you were living, maybe we can still improve this, because in epigenetics, we can switch on and off the genes. So 95% of the genes and everything that's happening in the cell is in perception. If the cell is under stress, it might cause disease. If the cell feels safe, you might reverse the disease or postpone disease that you have in your genetic coding. So I believe we can reshape our reality. How? It starts with the psychological stress. There is a difference between absolute and perceived reality. So absolute reality is something that all of us would agree on. So if I chop off my arm now, we would all agree that this arm is not going to regrow overnight on its own. That is not going to happen. So that is absolute reality in this world, and we would all agree on that. Perceived reality is the subjective mental state that shapes you perceive, shape what you perceive as an objective world. So if you are scared of dogs, then any dog that you see, you are going to, in your reality, perceive as danger. It's based on the previous experience or your beliefs. So that is your perceived reality. I might not have the same feeling. And so if you would want to, this was an example with dog, but it can be with anything at work, in relationship, you just perceive something as a danger, as a threat, then you can change it. That's what already Plato said. So reality is created in your mind. We can change our reality by changing our mind. So even Dr. Bruce Lipton, in a book called Biology of Belief, talks about mental universe. So the pictures that you make in your head and the words that you say to yourself are going to send a signal to every single cell in your body. Because your body doesn't have eyes. It doesn't know what is real and what's not real. When you are watching the film, you hear the music, you see the people, I don't know, falling in love, and you can get emotional. It's only a film, you know it. It's a perceived reality, yet it can create these emotions, the energy in motion. And I also see this with my clients very often. And I, and I tell them, the moment you change your perception, in the moment you rewrite the chemistry of your body. So I, for example, give them some supplements and I tell them, oh, you will sleep like a baby. And they report to me that they're sleeping like a baby. I just forgot to tell them that it will happen in 3 months' time. Or they come to me and they say, oh, Blanca, I had yesterday the iron infusion and I feel amazing. And then I'm wondering how it's possible. It takes 120 days for the bone marrow to make new red blood cells and put them into the circulating blood. There is no way that this infusion of the iron could have impact on the existing red blood cells that were created in the bone marrow 120 days before. It is just not possible. And on the top of it, iron is a heavy toxic metal. We do not want to have high levels of iron in our body. That's why we are storing it in a protein storage called ferritin in the bone marrow and the liver. But placebo is very powerful. This positive thinking and the belief that the infusion can immediately give them energy makes them feel better. I wonder if you have also ever experienced this placebo effect. And the same is with nocebo effect. So many of my clients have gastrointestinal issues. We, for example, discover that they have pathogenic bacteria or parasites. And I give them the protocol, and it's with different herbs. And I tell them, look, but you might experience Herxheimer reaction, which means you will have rash on your body, nausea, vomiting, headaches, and so on. When I tell them in advance, guess what? The next day I have emails, oh my goodness, I have such a, heart palpitations, I have nausea and all of this. If I don't tell them, they don't even experience it. So this is the power of making the pictures of your head and the words that you say to yourself. You believe it, the biochemistry that every cell in the body is going to do what you tell it to do. You, the mind, is the commander to the body. So it's a mental construction. So, and now you can think about anything that stresses you. It's you, your mind, that created it. And I could give you many other examples. When people want plaster. So again, the difference between functional medicine and the conventional medicine is that the conventional medicine is looking for the symptoms and putting plaster on the symptoms. So if you have rash on your skin, you will go to the dermatologist and they're going to give you corticosteroids. Corticosteroids are powerful because they suppress cortisone, the immune system. And therefore, the rash is going to disappear. But in functional medicine, we go to the root cause. What is the root cause of the rash on your body? Is it overactive immune system? Is it full allergy to it? Is it high histamine? Is it depleted detoxification process, the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of the liver? And how can we support the organs so that it doesn't have to detoxify through the skin? And here I put a picture of a splinter in the foot. There's a beautiful book called Untethered Soul. And there's a story of a man that had actually a thorn in his foot and he refused to remove it because he said, look, I bought these amazing plasters. I can put them around it. I bought the softest cushions for my shoes and the socks, and I created a barrier. So if I tell you something like this, it just seems to like, why would you complicate your life? And here comes the topic of our presentation. Simplify your life. Remove the thorn, the splinter. Remove it heal it, then you don't need to buy any extra supplements, socks, shoes, or anything like that. And it goes in the life as well. I'll give you another story. I had once, maybe 2 years ago, head of marketing, super, super successful woman. She was 55, looked actually really great. And she had Crohn's disease, so it's autoimmune disease. And she was supposed to go for the surgery where they have to cut a piece of the inflamed intestine. And she thought that she can change something with the diet. And so we looked at what she eats. So she actually had a person that was preparing all the food for her. She didn't have to do anything about that. And all the meals were like a Michelin star restaurant meals. So food was not the problem. And when we were diving into the modifiable lifestyle factors, we actually discovered that she hated her job. It made her extremely stressed. So the job was the stressor. And I asked her, like, why don't you change the job? She got very angry with me because she said, because I need to pay the house, yacht, cars, or the employees and everything. And so this is about her mindset. And she was not able, actually, we stopped working together because she was not able to change anything. I could not make any miracles for her. She was looking for some supplements or maybe some drugs and support while she can still be surrounded by the main stressor. So the mind gives up before the body does. Yes. So the body, even when you are, for example, running, it's the mind that says, I cannot anymore. The body would still run if it had a stronger why. Now let's dive into the quantum physics and the functional medicine. But it's actually not only a functional medicine, it's any energy medicine, because energy supply is necessary condition for life and energy cannot be destroyed. So in a conventional medicine, which is Newtonian physics, it's all about the matter. It's all about the body, everything that can be seen and measured. But energy in, for example, traditional Chinese medicine or Ayurveda or energy medicine, it cannot be seen and it cannot be really measured. But we know about the power of prana, breathwork, the energy, or chi, when you see people doing the Tai Chi. Because there is this invisible field, the electromagnetic field. There is a certain frequency of emotions and the vibration that has the ripple effect. Because if I tell you, so here you can see atom, right? And the atoms create the matter. But there is this invisible energy around the atoms as well. If I tell you, for example, if you can catch and hold tornado, you cannot. What is tornado? Tornado is just the powerful energy and a little bit of dust. But try to drive through the tornado, it would be super dangerous. The same is with the tides in the water. Or if you throw a stone into the water, you will see how with the waves it propagates, and it is that energy that cannot be destroyed. I want to give you a sense of the polarity. So people very often are trying to label things. Oh, this is good for me, or this is bad. Even in interpretation of the blood test, they sometimes say it's a good cholesterol, HDL, high density lipoprotein, or it's a bad cholesterol, LDL, the low density lipoprotein. But they are only carriers. There is no good and bad. And they also have the function in the body based on what needs to be done. So let me tell you the story about good and bad. And this is actually a Taoistic story about a man and a horse. So overnight, the horse ran away from the man. And the people from the village came and said, oh, you have such a bad luck. That was the only thing that you had. And the man said, good thing, bad thing, who knows? The next day, the horse came back with 12 other wild horses. And the neighbors came again and said, you are so lucky, you won a fortune. And the man said, good thing, bad thing, who knows? And the next day, his son tried to ride one of the wild horses, and he fell and broke his leg. And the neighbors came, and as you can imagine, they said, "Oh, you have such a bad luck. Who is going to help you now in the fields?" And he said, "Good thing, bad thing, who knows?" And sure enough, the next day, soldiers came to build a new army, and they were looking for a young, healthy man. And they couldn't take man's son. And all the other young men from the village were taken to the army. The neighbors came and said, "Oh, you are so lucky. We might never see our sons, but you will have your son." And the man says, "Good thing, bad thing, who knows?" And the story could continue like this. But the moral of the story is that we cannot judge it in the moment. We would have to change the perspective and see it from the top, from above of the universe to see why the things are happening to us. So the polarity is all around us, night and day. Light needs darkness to be known. Yin and yang, they cannot work without each other. Masculine, feminine. Even the hemisphere, we have the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, masculine and feminine. And yet, it works nicely together. So let's stop labeling things good or bad, and let's have this stoic thinking of indifference, not judging, non-judgmental, non-possessiveness. And let's look at the energy in motion, emotion. And people very often say, "But I would want to be only in the high emotions." But that's not possible, because everything in our life comes in waves. The waves in the ocean, and things happen. So sometimes you are up and sometimes you go down. What we want is to shorten the refractory period, how quickly we can at least get to the neutrality. So even on this scale, you can see the frequency of the vibration of energies. And in my weekly course, the group is called Happy Hormones, we discuss our life, what happens to us and how we feel. And I had one client, and she's actually now in Saint-Tropez in France. She's a Michelin star restaurant chef. And now she's a private chef for a very rich family. And they have a villa, and she works in the villa. And she said, "That was so busy for me. They had 12 visitors, and I was working for like 10 hours already. I was so tired, and I wanted to go for a walk, but I was feeling guilty to go for a walk because I still had some work to tidy up in the kitchen." Sure enough, the day I was thinking, guilty, guilty, guilty. I never really feel guilty. What emotions do I usually feel? And in my case, I'm Aries, very fiery. I feel anger. That is the low vibration frequency that I feel. And then I was diving into this topic more, and I opened one of my books about psychosomatic, and they were actually explaining what can be one underlying cause of the low frequencies. And it was explained like this, that if you grow up with loving parents or a mom that is taking care of you so much and removing all the obstacles, and you are the star of the family, you never had to go through any challenging time. You were given all the energy, and you were taking. You feel the obligation to give and give and give and pay back to people. And then I asked my client about this girl, and she said, about this theory, and she said, "Actually, yes, this is true. I just feel that I'm so blessed and that I have everything, and I feel so guilty for having everything. Amazing partner, amazing parents, amazing job, everything being so amazing in my life, that I keep giving, and then it has impact on my health." That's why she's in my group. And then I was wondering about my anger. Well, this book, sure enough, said that if you were brought up in a family where it was a tough bringing, you had to do everything yourself, nobody was helping you. I was climbing, I basically built my career and my children, my house and everything that's around me on my own, and nobody ever helped me. I do not feel any obligation to help to other people. And what is it then that makes me angry? And what makes me angry is when people want me to help them and constantly ask me and want something from me, because I feel like that I have given them already enough and they want more of my time, more of my energy. So this is what usually triggers anger in me. And it was interesting for me to see that, because of course I want to work on that. Of course I don't want to vibrate in this low energy. And so now it's all about the awareness. So I have the awareness, I accept that this is me. Yes, I have quite often the anger that comes to me, but I can take action because I understand the underlying mechanism and I can look at it from another perspective, maybe with the feeling of the love or peace, and I will want to the willingness to help somebody, and immediately I get into a different energetic field. Or I don't respond immediately. That's another thing that I can do. So energy is something that is around us. And you know that sometimes it's about, well, actually non-verbal communication is more potent. Antelope doesn't have to ask the lion, hey, lion, can I pass by here? No, no, no. She feels the energies. And the same is with us. I actually, with my clients or people around me, or even children, family, I feel when they want me to have communication with them, and I feel when they don't. I feel when I should be a listener, or if I can give them some advice, if they want advice. It doesn't have to be expressed verbally. And then another thing is charisma. I'm sure that it happened to you, that you were attracted, drawn towards someone because they were like a magnet to people, because they were vibrating in these high energies. And if we surround ourselves with people who vibrate in these high energies, the energy comes to us as well. So maybe think about this. Think about your friends who you surround yourself with. How do you feel in a certain group of people, and who lifts you up, or what lifts you up? So here are some of these are actually hermetic principles. It comes from the ancient Egypt and was passed through the generation until now we use it, law of the universe. So you can ask yourself, what do you care about? What excites you in this world? What makes you vibrate high? What are you driving towards in your life? And the biggest power lies in knowing what you want. And therefore, in some of the sessions, we are going to create vision board. So this is my vision board. I have it in my bedroom and I look at it before I go to sleep, or when I wake up, or whenever during the day I feel like I need to see the northern star towards what I go. What are the milestones that I want to achieve? And remind myself the purpose why I want it. So this is in a Feng Shui style. And each quadrant is about family, friendship, achievements, clarity of life, love, and so on. And I invite you to maybe start thinking about what is it that you want in these areas of your life, and then we can create it together. But now let's look at the last part, more relaxing part. How to build exceptional relationships, cultivate meaningful connections with personal fulfillment and professional success. How does this sound to you? And everything is possible. So I was thinking about which book do I bring to your attention. And there are many, many new books, but one book that I like to read over and over again is this classic, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It was written in 1936. So the original one has, let's say, ancient examples, and then you can find even new examples because that has been reprinted and sold so many times. And it might seem to you that it's almost like sales and marketing, that we want to influence people. But everything that you do must be with authenticity and good intention. Then even sales And marketing or winning some people because you want them to be your friends is a good high vibration energy. So the first thing that I took from this book is praise is more effective than criticism. And this goes to you because you can praise yourself and not accept criticism, but it's also towards other people. And I have to say that I apply this to my clients. When I started practicing functional medicine or nutritional therapy many years ago, I would say I was quite strict. So when they showed me what they eat, I was mostly focusing on criticizing the portion sizes and what's wrong. Now I completely changed because I know that these people, if I praise them for what they do correctly, and then I maybe point out what could be the alternative to some of the other things, I see massive success in them. So people love praise and they hate to disappoint those who believe in them. And I always say, I believe in you. I believe you can lose weight. I believe you can stay 7 days without coffee. I believe in them. And so because they want to prove to me that they can do it, that's why they succeed. So praise inspires us all to work. And now let me tell you about criticism, because sure enough, it happens to you. And maybe even you are watching now this presentation and you feel like you would want to criticize something. Maybe you don't like my energy. Maybe you don't like the vibration that I have. But it's not about me. It's about you. So if you were vibrating high, you would try to find in this presentation something, one thing that is positive, because where the focus goes, energy flows. But if you vibrate low, you are not satisfied with yourself, then you might want to put me down or put other people down by criticizing them. And so if you would criticize me, let's say openly, I would ask you these three questions. I would say, what makes you say that? And then you would explain to me your point. And maybe I would see that's a valid point and I would learn from it. Or I would ask you, or I would say, are you trying to hurt my feelings? How would you feel if I say something like this? Sure enough, we would maybe realize that what you said was harmful and it was maybe not necessary. Yeah. So what makes you say that? Are you trying to hurt my feelings? Or if you're like with colleagues or someone else, and they say something that's inappropriate or something that hurts you, you can say, I think I misunderstood. Can you repeat it again? This is clearly telling them that they crossed your boundaries and very often they're not going to repeat it. They will say, I'm sorry, it just slipped through me, and they will correct them. So there are these three powerful sentences that you can use when someone is criticizing you. But overall, we want to praise people because that's what works. The second, let's say, peril that I took from this amazing book was make everyone you meet feel interesting and important. Remember their name. The name is the sweetest word for everybody. Sweetest word for everybody. When you meet me and you just say, hi, hiya, it's not as powerful as when you say, hi, Blanca. You say my name. That resonates with me. Start to observe the people that actually really use it. And they say your name, or they use your name within the sentence. Or when they say bye, they say bye, your name. So remember their name and try to use it. Not overuse it, but using it. Because people love it when they hear their name. And then value their opinions. Whatever people say, even if you don't resonate with it, you can value their opinion. Then the last thing is people rarely care about other people's lives. When you meet somebody new, they're not going to be interested in you. But if you nevertheless want to become their friend, or there is a relationship or connection with new colleagues, ask them and encourage them to talk about themselves, because everybody likes talking about themselves. And I practice this very often. When I do discovery calls for my business, I let them speak. I ask them questions. And these 15, 30, 45 minutes might be the only time when somebody pays attention. I use their names and I use the words that they say, and I value all of their opinions, and they become my clients. I do it also with new people. But what I also do is when I meet somebody, if I go, for example, for a date, and I will be asking them questions, I see if there is like a tennis game, if it's like a tennis game. So if I ask you something and you are genuinely interested in me, you will ask me back. Yeah? And then we play this. That's what it's in friendship. Or if I, for example, ask my friend, what did you have for lunch? And she'll say, I had spaghetti. What did you have? I had pizza. Yeah. So she asks me because she is genuinely interested. I ask her, it's just like so automatic. And people who never ask you anything, they are not interested in you whatsoever. But you can still influence them and have a good relationship with them. So ask open-minded questions, and maybe you can ask this 5 times why. That is very powerful. I use this with my clients, I use it with my children, I use it with people around me. And they tell me something, why they can do something or cannot do. I ask them why. And then they say something else. And I say, why? And then I say something else. And why? And even they're surprised what comes from them. It's almost like a coaching session. And then if you are in a meeting, you can actually express your opinion as a last person, especially if you are a senior in the company. Because if you speak, if you are viewed as a senior person and everybody values your opinion, if you say something as a first person, they're going to change their opinions because they value so much. If you let other people speak and you listen, and you are the last person to express your opinion, you will at least learn what is their genuine view on the situation, what perception they have. And the last one that I like is avoid conflict with stubborn opponents. Look, it's with children, it's with partners, it's with everybody. As we said before, energy cannot be destroyed. It propagates. And if there is a negative energy in a conflict, it's going to propagate and it's going to be even bigger and bigger and can come back to you as a boomerang. So in business or even in friendship, acknowledge the possibility that you might be wrong. And I can tell you this happened to me actually yesterday or 2 days ago. I joined LinkedIn Premium 1 month for free. And they were supposed to send me a reminder when the 1 free month ends, because obviously I wasn't even planning to pay €159 monthly for the membership, and definitely not in summer when I'm traveling. And suddenly I see on my PayPal that they took a month of the payment. And so I wrote to them, but I couldn't write it as like, hey, you need to give it to me. I wanted the money back and I got them back. But it was like, I think I'm wrong. I have missed something. Could you please advise on how I could get reimbursed? And the person helped me to get reimbursed. And this is with everything. Even when clients are telling me something, I might say, oh, I'm sorry, I might be wrong because I don't know the full story in your, but it just seems to me. So I acknowledge that I can be wrong and we avoid the conflict. Yeah? So it's about asking the right questions in the right way and trying to understand their perspective before you go into any conflict. I hope that these 3 friendship tips, relationship tips helped you. And I know that here are some people that always want to know, but what about nutrition, Blanca? You are also a nutritionist. Tell us what to eat. And I always say, yes, the body is the garden of my soul. And it's the food is the information of the cells, but mostly is the energy that we use it for. With nutrition, I would say it's super simple. Eat clean food, have protein, fat, and fiber in every meal, hydrate, especially when it's warm, eat the rainbow of all the phytonutrients and antioxidants in the fruit and vegetable. Try to eat local food and have the 80-20 rule. 80 is sticking to everything that I said now. And the 20 is enjoying a little bit of something that might not be quite right. So, what are the principles of mastering your life and making it simple? So, it's modeling. Find a mentor or coach in any area of the well-being that you feel that you need support. If you feel that you don't know how to work on the psychosomatic part, you have some guilt, fear, anger, like me, try to have a life coach and find the patterns that are coming back and how you can avoid them. Total immersion. Definitely schedule some time in your agenda. So if today you are thinking about, okay, I want to get my chemical stress under control, for example, the hormones, you are in a perimenopause, menopause, or andropause. So schedule some time for the breath work or hormone yoga therapy or meditation. And there is a need for spaced repetition. So the best is to be in some mastermind. Like I have this happy hormones group. And every week we speak about it. And I repeat over and over and over again all the principles of functional medicine. But mostly find your why and the purpose. And that's why I would really recommend doing the vision board and knowing in every area of your life what can be the tiny steps and the milestones that will help you to achieve the overall goal, following the Northern Star. So this passion, focus, and clarity. Because what and how to do it, you will always find. But the why is the most important. So thank you for your time, and I hope to see you in the next session.